Good evening, everyone. We're going to get started here in a little bit. I want to go ahead and introduce myself. My name is Brad Miller. I'm the Associate Director of Alumni Engagement and Philanthropy at James Madison University. So glad you're here to learn about college savings plans with Virginia529. Brittany Bullock has joined us tonight from Virginia529. She's going to go ahead and discuss some of the college saving options. Real quick, before we get started, I'm sure you all know or kind of have heard, homecoming is going to look a little bit different this year. It's going to be done virtually. We will not be having alumni back to campus, but that does not mean we don't have activities. We have a number of things planned. Make sure you follow us on social media to see what we have planned for homecoming, which takes place the first week of November. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to turn it over to Brittany Bullock from Virginia529. Brittany, thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Brad. And hopefully everyone can hear me okay. Like Brad mentioned, my name is Brittany Bullock with Virginia529. I've been with the agency a little over 7 years now, kind of traveling around and educating families and the public about the 529 program. So again, we thank you all for spending your evening with us on this first day of fall, which is a really beautiful time here in Virginia. But with that, we'll go ahead and get started. And let me just make sure I can slide through here. Okay, here we go. So again, thank you all for bearing with us. You know, with the virtual presentations, things can sometimes get a little wonky. Just a quick note, I'm going to spend about the first 30 minutes with you all to talk about the importance of saving. I'm going to talk about who is Virginia529, the program features and benefits that we offer, how to enroll if you're ready to open an account or if you already have an account and you need to do some account maintenance, and where you can find more information. Virginia529 is a state agency. I am a state employee. I will not be able to go over any legal, financial, tax, or benefit advice. Trust me, you don't want any legal or tax advice from me. You may be really upset with me afterwards. So what we typically tell individuals to do, if you have those specific legal or tax questions, we encourage you to reach out to an individual that will be able to assist you or answer those questions for you. And then also, because of the nature of tonight's presentation, we really won't be able to go into any in-depth personal circumstances or scenarios, but we do have a feature where you can submit questions. So if you look right down there at the bottom of your Zoom screen, you'll see the chat feature. And with the chat feature, you could just submit a question there. It looks like our slide progressed just a little bit, but that's okay. But with the chat feature,
Sorry, Brittany, I think I muted you accidentally.
it is okay. And again, like we mentioned, you know, with technology things, we may run into some issues, and that is perfectly fine. But just the last thing to note is just that chat feature. So if you have questions or anything, please feel free to throw those into the chat. And what I'll do is once we get through the information of the presentation, I'll kind of go over those questions that you also submit. So please, as I go through the information tonight, if you have a specific question, throw that in the chat, and just know that I'll touch on those towards the end of the presentation tonight. Brad is also recording this presentation, so there may be that option available to have this to view later on once we finish the session tonight. But we'll go ahead and get started here. So This slide and the next slide I'm going to cover for you all is what we call why save, or getting families to start thinking about that savings. So the first slide that we have here is a case study that was done looking at paying a $35,000 tuition bill. And what we're doing is we're comparing saving versus borrowing. So let's say if a family decided to save in a 529 account, they contribute $100 monthly for 18 years, assuming a 5% rate of return. What you're going to end up having is you're going to have around $34,000 in savings in that 529 account alone. So a little over $21,000 in savings, and then you're going to have those tax-free earnings on top of that. Now let's compare that to borrowing. So you decide and wait, and you're going to take out that student loan to pay for that $35,000 tuition bill. And what you're going to end up doing is you're going to end up paying around $47,000 back in total over time. So you're going to have that $35,000 tuition bill, and then you're going to also have that interest that you have to pay back over time. So what you'll see there is you're going to end up paying around $406 monthly for 10 years, assuming you borrowed at a 7% interest rate. So again, the idea here is really to get families to start thinking about that saving versus borrowing when they're looking at those higher education expenses. And one thing to note is that, you know, you may not be able to save that full tuition amount, or maybe you can't cover all four years with your 529 account. But we really like to get families to know that the more you save, the better off you will be in the long run, and the less of that financial aid and those student loans that you're going to have to take advantage of. All right, and so this slide here that we have is just kind of that cost of waiting. And let me see if I could go back one more slide. Okay, thank you all for being patient with us. So the slide that we have here is the cost of waiting. And so the idea of this here is to really start to get families to start thinking about that savings as soon as possible. So let's assume you have a newborn at home and you start putting $100 away in a 529 account for around 18 years, and you're going to save around $40,000 in that 529 account. But let's say a year goes by and you haven't started that savings yet. You could approximately cost yourself around $4,000 in savings just by waiting 1 year. And by waiting up to 5 years, you could potentially cost yourself around $16,000 in savings. So we're not trying to scare families or scare individuals here, but what we're really trying to do is really to get them to start thinking about that savings as soon as they possibly can. Because keep in mind, the longer that you have to save, the better off you will be in the long run when it comes to that 529 account. Right. So Virginia529 at a glance. Our first account opened back in 1996. And again, like I mentioned before, we are an independent state agency. We have grown to be one of the nation's largest and one of the nation's top 529 programs. And there's a group out there called Morningstar, their investment research firm. And every year what they do is they rate the 529 programs across the nation. And for the past 4 years in a row, our Invest 529 plan has received a gold rating. And this is the highest rating that you can actually receive. A few things that have led to us being one of the largest and one of the top choices in the nation. We offer various portfolio options. We have very low fees when it comes to 529 accounts and low opening contributions. And with the start of COVID-19, we actually just lowered our opening contributions from $25 to just $10. So $10 is all you need to get that 529 account started today. All right, so some terminology. You've heard me use this word already a million times, and it's in our title. What is a 529 plan? 529, back in 1996, there was code 529 of the Internal Tax Revenue Code that was passed, and it was for tax advantage savings for higher education expenses. So you'll have direct sold 529 programs where you'll work with the state that administers that plan, like Virginia529. We also have advisor sold programs, and you'll have private 529 programs too. Beneficiary. So the beneficiary is going to be the individual that you're saving the funds for. So if you are a parent on the call tonight and you're looking to save for a child, the child is going to be the beneficiary on that account. If you are a parent and you're looking to go back to school, maybe you want to take some courses later on down the road and you want to open a 529 account for yourself, you would be both the account owner and the beneficiary on that 529 account. So keep in mind the beneficiary is just the individual that you're saving the funds for. We have qualified higher education expense in your eligible educational institution. These are what you can use your funds for and where your funds are accepted, or where you can use your funds at. And we will touch on both of those topics in just a moment. And then we also have direct sold versus advisor sold. Direct sold means you're working directly with Virginia529 to set that account up. You're going to log in, you're going to manage that account yourself. And then the advisor sold program is where you're going to work with a financial advisor, and they are going to set up that account for you, and they're going to help to manage that account for you. All right, so what we have here now, so the next two slides we're going to look at are just the different benefits of the 529 account. So the first benefit that we're going to look at are the tax-free earnings. So Virginia529 accounts actually grow tax-free as long as you're using those funds for a qualified expense. And the example that we have here is comparing a taxable account to a tax advantage account. So let's say if you put $200 per month into a taxable account. So this is like your savings account, your money markets, different accounts like that. So you put $200 per month for 18 years into this taxable account. You're going to save a little over $65,000. But let's say you decide to put that same amount into a tax-free or a tax advantage account, like a 529 account. What's going to end up happening is you're going to have additional tax-free earnings of over $14,000. So this is a really nice feature for families, and it's a really great way for those 529 accounts to grow with those tax-free earnings. The second benefit that we have is the state tax benefit. And the way that the state tax benefit works is for Virginia taxpayers, and they can deduct up to $4,000 per account per year. This state tax benefit is only for the account owner. There isn't unlimited carry forward, and I'll give an example of that in just a second. And if the account owner is 70 and above, so maybe the grandparent owns the account, they can actually deduct their entire contribution amount for that year. They are not capped at that $4,000 amount. So we have some examples here. So let's say for this year, you are an account owner and you have one account at home. So you have one child, one account, and you contribute $8,000 to that account for this year. What's going to end up happening is when you file your state tax return for 2020, you'll be eligible to deduct that first $4,000. And then that following tax year, so when you file your 2021 state tax return, you can actually deduct that remaining $4,000. And that's an example of that unlimited carry forward. The second example that we have here is, let's say you're a parent, you're an account holder, and you have two kids at home. So you open an account for each child. And this year you contribute $4,000 to account one and $4,000 to that second account. What's going to happen is when you file your Virginia state tax return, you're going to be eligible, or you can deduct $8,000 from your Virginia state tax return. So keep in mind the state tax deduction, it's for Virginia residents or Virginia taxpayers, and you can deduct up to $4,000 per year per account. By chance, if we have residents on the call who are not Virginia residents, you can still open a Virginia529 account. You can still have an account with us. You just would not be able to take advantage of that state tax benefit. Your account will still grow tax-free, But if you do live in another state outside of Virginia, we always just encourage families to kind of compare their state's program to Virginia529, but you are more than welcome to still open an account with Virginia529. All right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at one of our first programs, and this is Invest529. Invest529 is actually the second program that we started. We started this plan back in 1998. It is our direct sold savings program where you're choosing a portfolio, and then you as the account owner, you are saving at your own pace. To be eligible for an Invest529 account, the account owner must be a U.S. citizen or legal U.S. resident. There is no state residency required. So like I just mentioned, if you live in another state but you want to open an Invest529 account, you can. Maybe you have grandparents that or family members that live in another state, but they would like to help out and open an account too. They would still be able to open an Invest529 account. So there's no state residency requirement. There's also no beneficiary age requirement, and this is a really nice feature because you're not capped at a certain age to start that savings. So maybe you have a student or a child that's already in high school, but you would still like to start a 529 account for them. You would still be able to open an Invest529 plan. I mentioned in the beginning of the presentation, if you are looking to go back to school yourself and you would like to open an account for yourself, you would still be eligible for Invest529 account. There's year-round open enrollment, so you don't have to wait for a specific enrollment period, and we offer over 20 different investment portfolios. And before I jump into the investment portfolios, what we like to tell account owners is that you can easily customize your Invest529 strategy in 3 simple steps. So that first step as the account owners, you're going to decide on which portfolio option you would like to choose. One thing to keep in mind is that each portfolio that you choose is a separate Invest529 account. So as we go through the different portfolio options, that is something to keep in mind, and you're not limited on the number of portfolios you can choose. You just can't choose one of the same or multiple of the same portfolios. Then you're going to decide on the amount you would like to contribute and how often you would like to contribute to that 529 account. So as promised, we're going to take a quick look at the different investment portfolio categories. And we did just separate, or we did just categorize our portfolios to kind of help families, kind of help guide them choose, to choose which portfolio option is going to work the best for them. So the first category that we offer, these are our target enrollment portfolios, and these are what we like to say is our set it and forget it approach. So what you're looking at is you're choosing a portfolio option that has the date that closely matches the date of the student's high school graduation or the date that you're going to start using the funds. So it's factoring in that beneficiary's age until the time until high school graduation. And what you'll see is that the younger the child, the more aggressive that portfolio option is. And then automatically over time, that portfolio is going to shift to a more conservative or fixed income portfolio. These portfolios are generally designed for college savings. You can use your Invest529 funds for private K-12 tuition. And if that's what you were looking to use the funds for, you may want to consider one of our other portfolio options outside of the target enrollment. And down here at the bottom, we don't have all of the, let me go back one more slide. Down here at the bottom, we don't have all of the portfolios listed for target enrollment. We just have kind of an example of that flow. So what you see here is like with the younger child, the target age 0 to 3, you see that you have a more aggressive portfolio with 80% equity. And then what's going to happen is over time, that portfolio is going to start to shift. And every couple of years, that portfolio is going to start becoming more and more conservative. And by the time the family is getting ready to use that account, that portfolio option will be 100% fixed income. Now, the second category that we offer is our index portfolios. And our index portfolios are designed to track the performance of a broad market benchmark and seek to match the risk and return of these investments. These portfolios typically offer lower fees than other investment options, and different from the target enrollment portfolios we just looked at. These portfolios are, remain static. So they are static portfolios, and they're not going to shift over time unless you as the account owner tell us that you would like to make a change. And you can see down here at the bottom the different options that we have under the index portfolios. The third category that we offer is our target risk portfolios. And our target risk portfolios, what they do is they hold a diversified mix of stocks, bonds, cash, and other investments and span the risk spectrum from conservative to aggressive. So again, you do have that option between conservative and an aggressive portfolio. Target risk portfolios are designed for investors who want a static investment based on their risk tolerance at the time their contributions are made. Our target risk portfolios are broken up into two distinct management philosophies. So we have our actively managed and our passively managed. And the difference there is that the actively managed portfolios offer an approach to investment management that aims to outperform a particular market index or benchmark through asset allocation and or security selection decisions. And then whereas the passively managed portfolios offer an approach to investment management that aims to replicate a particular market index or benchmark, and it does not attempt to actively manage those portfolios. And again, these portfolios are static portfolios, so they're not going to change over time unless you as the account owner would like to change them. And these are the photos that you see down here at the bottom. These are the target risk portfolio options that we have available. So our fourth category is our principal protected portfolios. And our principal protected portfolios are designed to protect the account owner from losses to their original amount that they have invested or contributed to the account. And these generally offer a more stable investment return. Again, these portfolios are static portfolios, and the two features or the two options that we have here. We offer an FDIC insured portfolio that we added back in 2017, and then we have our stable value portfolio. And then the last category that we offer is our specialty portfolios. And our specialty portfolios include investment options that don't fall into the last four categories that we mentioned. These portfolios offer an ESG investment option, which uses financial, environmental, social, and governance criteria. This category also offers a global equity portfolio, which is comprised of a mix of domestic and international equities. And again, the specialty portfolios, these are static portfolios, so they're not going to change over time. But one thing I do like to let account owners I'll let account owners know is that you can change your portfolio 2 times per calendar year. So let's say if you go with maybe the FDIC insured portfolio and you're not really happy with the performance of that portfolio, you can submit documentation to have that portfolio change, or what we call an investment direction. And you can do that 2 times per calendar year. Most of our portfolios do fluctuate based off of market conditions, so this is something you want to keep in mind when you're making that selection. And our current fees range from 0.09 basis points to 0.72 basis points. So again, just some of our fees are very low when it comes to investment accounts and with other 529 programs. Excuse me. And then also, if you visit our website, Virginia529.com, under our Invest 529 page, you'll see additional information about the portfolios where you can get past performance of that portfolio. You can see what those portfolios are actually comprised of and do additional research on those portfolios before making your selection. So growing your account, so keep in mind you're choosing your portfolio selection, and then you're deciding how much and how often you would like to make contributions to that account. And there's a few different ways that you as an account owner can make contributions. You can set up automatic recurring contributions, or what we call ACH contributions. And this is where you just simply put in your checking or savings account, and you would say once or twice a month, I would like $10, $20, or whatever amount you would like to come directly from that account to your 529 account. You can make one-time contributions. These can be online. They can be check contributions. You can make a wire transfer, so you have one-time contributions available. We also offer direct deposit from your paycheck. One thing about the 529 accounts is all contributions to your 529 account are post-tax contributions, and the same applies with direct deposit. Direct deposit is offered to every account owner, but the final step of the direct deposit is contingent on if your employer can participate or not. So you may want to just check with your employer before you decide to go with that direct deposit feature. And then gifting actually gets its own slide. So gifting is something that we really encourage you talk to your friends, family, colleagues about. Gifting is a really nice way to help grow your 529 account or help someone else grow their 529 account. And there's a few different gifting options that we have available. We have printable and electronic gift cards online. So if you go to our gift center on our website, Virginia529.com, you can actually send an e-gift card or print off a gift card for someone, and vice versa. Someone could send you a gift card or print off a gift card for you. We have printable gift certificates. My grandmother still writes checks for everything, even down to her groceries. So there may be family members who may want to write a check as a gift contribution, but maybe they want to attach a gift certificate with it. We have printable gift certificates on our website, and we have them available for almost every occasion that you can think of. So it's a really nice way you could print that off and give it to that family member to show that you made a gift contribution to their 529 account. And then the most popular feature that we have is when you set up a 529 account, you're going to get a unique gift ID. And this unique gift ID is a nice way to share with your friends and family so that they could go on and make an online contribution to your 529 account without needing any of your personal information. When we launched our gift IDs a few years ago, we heard feedback from account owners, and they were putting their gift ID on their Facebook page. They put them in birthday invitations, graduation announcements, baby shower invitations. So the gift ID is really popular, and it's a really nice way to share that information and to help grow your 529 account. One thing I do like to mention is that with the gift contributions, the account owner is going to be the only individual that can take that state tax deduction. So for example, let's say if Brad has a 529 account and I gift Brad $500 towards his 529 account. Brad, as the account owner, will be the individual that gets to take that state tax deduction for that $500 at the end of the year. So that is something else to keep in mind with those gift contributions to a 529 account. Oh, let me go back here. All right, so eligible educational institutions. So the one thing that we hear most of the time is that, well, my student's not going to go to school in Virginia, so there's no need to go with a Virginia 529 account. Your Virginia 529 funds may be used at any eligible educational institution worldwide. And the rule of thumb here is as long as a school accepts federal financial aid, you are able to use your Invest 529 or your Virginia 529 funds there. So this includes both your 2- and 4-year colleges and universities, and includes your technical and vocational programs, your training programs. It now also includes your registered apprenticeships, so it'll include those fees, supplies, and equipment for those programs. And I mentioned very quickly in the beginning of the presentation, but you can also use up to $10,000 per year to help pay for that private, religious, or public K through 12 tuition. So that is a newer feature with the Virginia 529 or with the 529 accounts, is that you can use up to $10,000 for that K through 12 tuition. And now what you can use your funds for. So the qualified higher education expenses include, it includes your tuition and fees, your room and board, required supplies and equipment, your textbooks, computers and equipment, special needs services if the student were to need them while enrolled. And the newest feature is you can now use up to $10,000 total to help pay back for any qualified student loans. So that's a really nice new feature with the 529 accounts. One thing to note about usage of your 529 account is that we do not require any sort of documentation or receipts when you're getting ready to pull the funds from your account. But what we really encourage families to do is to kind of keep track of that information. We will not audit you, but the IRS at any time could decide to audit your 529 account, and you want to be able to say or show that you have that information available if they were to need to audit or see the transactions from your 529 account. All right, so we just looked at our Invest 529 program. We're going to take a very quick second to look at our prepaid 529 program. So our prepaid 529 program was actually the first program that we started back in 1996. Oh, let me go back one more slide here. Okay, there we go. So prepaid 529 was our first program we started back in 1996. Our prepaid 529 program is actually permanently closed to new enrollment. So last May, there was some legislation passed in the General Assembly to close down our prepaid 529 plan to new enrollment and to develop a similar replacement program. That new program will be available in February of 2021, so just a few short months from now. If you are currently a prepaid 529 account holder, there are no changes to your existing account. Your account will pay out the same way as it has before. It's just the program is now closed to new enrollment. If you are interested, we are getting ready to start sharing information with the public about that new program we'll have available in February of 2021. So if you are interested in that information or would like to receive updates, what we're encouraging individuals to do is just to subscribe to our newsletter on our website. And that's going to be the quickest and fastest way to get that information about that new program. All right. And then the third program that we have available for you all is College America. And so the first two programs we looked at were our direct sold programs. College America is our advisor sold program. It's a partnership that we have with the CAP group, or most people know as American Funds. College America is sold exclusively through a financial advisor. And what they're going to do is they're going to sit down with you and they're going to build a portfolio for you using those American Fund mutual funds portfolio options. Because you are using a financial advisor services for your College America account, there are some fees associated with the program depending on the advisor that you use. But you're still going to get those same tax benefits and those same benefits with that College America account as you would with that Invest 529 program. You're just going to have that financial advisor that's going to be able to assist you and help you out along the way. If you are interested in that College America program, what you would do is you would either call or go online, and they are going to get you connected with an advisor in your area that's licensed to sell that College America program. If you already work with a financial advisor, you may want to check with them just to see if they are licensed to sell College America. Right. So before I jump into, I see we have a few questions come here down here at the bottom. Before I do that, I'm going to just go over some really popular FAQs that we get at most of our events. The first question that we have here is kind of a two-part question. And the question is, what happens if my beneficiary gets a scholarship? Or what happens if my beneficiary decides not to go to school? So the first part of that question, your student gets a scholarship, they come home, they're super excited, maybe they get a full ride to JMU, and you're excited for them, but you're trying to figure out what to do with that 529 account. If your student receives a scholarship, you as the account owner would be eligible for what we call a scholarship refund. And this is where you would be able to get your funds back from your 529 account without having to pay any tax penalties on that account. So some families may choose to go with the scholarship refund, and you'll work with our finance director to get that set up and established. Some families decide to just hold on to the funds into the account and use it for maybe expenses that are not covered with the scholarship, or maybe save it for another child that may be starting school later on. Now, the second part of that question is, what happens if my beneficiary decides not to go to school? What happens to your 529 account then? And what I like to say is, the account owner, you have three options at that point. So the first option is you can decide to hold on to the account. So with the prepaid 529 account, you have 10 years from their high school graduation to use the funds in the account. And with Invest 529, you have 30 years from that individual's high school graduation to use the funds in that account. So you could decide to hold on to the funds in the account. Maybe they'll attend classes later on. Maybe they'll decide to enroll at a later date. Or you could save it and hold on to the account and maybe use it for future children that come along. And that brings up the second option. And the second option is you can change the beneficiary on the account. So maybe you have an older child at home who maybe decides to go into the military, or they're going to work, or they're not going to need their 529 account. You can change the beneficiary on that account to another individual. The rule of thumb there is it just has to be an individual that's related to that original beneficiary. And this can be a sibling, it could be a cousin, an aunt, an uncle. It just has to be a family member. And then the third option is that at any time, you can request a cancellation on that 529 account. So if at any time, for whatever reason, you can request a cancellation. Just keep in mind with the cancellation can trigger the tax penalties, and the tax penalties are typically 10% on the earnings, and then you'll have that ordinary income tax to pay back too. Will this affect my financial aid eligibility? And the answer is yes. So they do take a look at your 529 account when you're filling out that FAFSA form. But all they're going to look at is 5.64% of what your account balance is. And that's what they could, that is the max of what they could lower your financial aid award by. So they do take into consideration your 529 account, but again, it's a very small percentage that they take into consideration. Where do I go to open an account? Just going to visit Virginia529.com. You'll need the account owner's information, so basic information, an address, social, date of birth. You're going to need that same information for the beneficiary. And then you're also going to need a passport or a valid driver's license when setting that account up. And the reason we ask for that information is because we do a lot of our transactions online now, and that's the easiest and the safest way that we can verify your information and keep any activity that's not supposed to happen to your account. So you will need that information available. Can I have more than one account? And the answer is yes, you definitely can. So we'll have account owners who have multiple invest portfolios, and keep in mind, each portfolio you choose is a separate account. You can have a prepaid account and an Invest 529 account. We even have some account owners who have Invest 529 and College America. So you can have more than one account with Virginia 529. Okay, so let me go back one side here. This information may have already been shared with you all, or if you want to pull out your phone or jot down the URL, but because you all attended our session tonight, we're giving you the chance to enter to win $529 towards an Invest 529 account. If you already have an account, you can still enter to win, so you're still eligible. And you would just visit Virginia529.com/win. and you'll just submit that information there. So again, if you want to write that down or take a quick picture of that screen so that you can enter for a chance to win those funds towards that Invest 529 account. Also on our website, you could subscribe for updates, do additional research, or open your account. We also have listed our social media pages. And one thing I do like to note, if you're not already following our Facebook page, starting in October, every second Tuesday, we'll be having a Facebook Live session. And I'll actually be the host of those live sessions. And we're just going to kind of talk about different topics with the 529 account. And they're going to be quick 15, 20-minute live sessions on different topics. And we actually will have some topics that are chosen by the Facebook audience. So if you're interested in that, you could just like our Facebook page. We also have our Twitter page there. We post a lot of different blog articles and news updates to those accounts. And then very quickly, if you are part of a we thank JMU alumni tonight for having us do this presentation for you all. But again, if you're part of another organization, homeowners organization, volunteer group, your job, if you know of anyone that's interested in getting information about Virginia 529 or would like to host a workshop or a webinar, a free session is available. Well, all of our sessions are free. We are a state agency. Most of our sessions are virtual sessions right now, but please feel free if you can think of anything to invite us out. We have that information there. And then the last slide before I jump into the questions that we have down here at the bottom. So we kind of just flew through information about Virginia 529 and saving for those higher education expenses. A lot of individuals aren't aware that Virginia 529 also offers a disability savings program called ABLE Now. And ABLE stands for Achieving a Better Life Experience. So ABLE Now is the Virginia-sponsored ABLE Savings Program. And what this account does, this is a tax advantage savings account for individuals with disabilities, and it allows them to save up to $15,000 per year without it jeopardizing certain mean tested benefits such as their SSI, SSDI, and Medicaid. Just a quick note, for way too long, these individuals could only have up to $2,000 in their name in a savings or in their name in general before their benefits were stopped or suspended. So this account now allows them to save up to $15,000 and still qualify and still receive those mean tested benefits they're receiving. The money in the account, just like the 529 account, is tax advantage, and the funds in the ABLE Now account can be used towards any expense that's going towards their quality of life, health, or independence. So we've added this information in there just to kind of get that word out there. And so if you have a family member, a friend, or anyone that could benefit from that information, you could shoot me a note and I can share my email with you, or you can have them visit able-now.com to get some additional information. All right, so here is our customer service information. We have our customer service number and email that you can reach out. And I'm going to go ahead and take a look at these few questions that we received so far. So the first question that we have is, should each child have their own account? And this is actually a very good question that we get a lot of times. The answer is really, it's going to be what works best for the family. And I'll give you kind of a few different situations. So sometimes what we'll have is a family may only want to have one 529 account, and then when it's time to use the account, they'll split that account up to those certain individuals. One thing to keep in mind is when you're pulling funds from your 529 account, you can only pull funds for one individual. So it's not like you can have one account and then pay for two kids to go to school through that one account. So what some families may do, again, is they may have one account, and then when it's time to use the funds, they may split that account in half or split it however they need to. What most families do is they do open a separate account for each child. So a separate 529 account for each child, but you do have that option depending on what works best for your family and what your savings goal is. You can set up one and fund that account through the years, and then just keep in mind when it's time to use that account, you would need to have it separated or split that account up. Can you open a 529 account if you have a plan in another state? And the answer is yes. My manager actually has a 529 with us, and she has a 529 plan in another state as well. So there's really no limitation on the 529 accounts that you have. With Virginia529, there is an account balance limit, and it's $500,000 across the board. I am a state employee. I will never see that much money a day in my life, but that is what the limit is. It's $500,000 across the board for a beneficiary with their 529 account. But you can have a 529 in another state and open an account with Virginia. You can also transfer in between states. So let's say if you have a New York 529 plan and you wanted to transfer to Virginia 529, you could do that, and vice versa. I'm not sure what happened to the slide here, but those were the last two questions that I had. And if Brad, if you're still on the call, it doesn't look like we have any more questions coming in. So I can, if you're still on the call and want to jump in and close things out, or I can close out the session if needed. But again, if you all have additional questions, please feel free to reach out to our customer service team, and they will be more than happy to assist you.